Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to highlight the intersection of childhood poverty and educational disadvantage. According to Data SA's Index of Educational Disadvantage, the 2021 listing, out of the 43 most highly disadvantaged schools in South Australia, those classified as Tier 1 on the Disadvantage Index, 31 are based in regional or remote areas. In the second highest ranking, there are 35 regional and remote schools. There is no denying it. There is educational disadvantage in large swathes of regional and rural South Australia. Multiple peer-reviewed journal articles, the examples we viewed dated articles from 1987 through to 2021, all show that when tracked, multiple levels of educational, social and economic disadvantage lingers from childhood to adulthood in what is called ongoing coexisting disadvantage. A child who grew up in poverty in an unstable household with educational disadvantage is more likely to continue to hold those disadvantages throughout their life. In a practical sense, this means, firstly, 1 in 3 children from our most disadvantaged communities do not meet one or more key developmental milestones before starting school. In fact, they are likely to perform worse in language and impulse control measures before they even turn 2. Secondly, they are likely to be 2 to 3 years behind their general cohort in reading and arithmetic throughout their entire schooling. Thirdly, they are likely to remain un- or underdiagnosed if they have a learning, behavioural or cognitive disorder, or are diagnosed but lack consistent and appropriate access to interventions and therapies. And lastly, their aspirations and opportunities may be narrowed, as they are unlikely to experience the extracurricular activities their peer groups participate in. There is a net effect to poverty. It encompasses lives, from hunger to housing, instability to mental anguish to non-attendance and behavioural issues at school. The compounded trauma of net effect is not new or surprising, and there are plenty of studies from both here in Australia and around the world that clearly show without effective intervention or incredibly good luck, a disadvantaged child is more likely than the general population to become a disadvantaged adult. The statistics vary from study to study, up to over 75% in some of the literature, but there is strong consistency of above a 50% chance of cyclical disadvantage. An international literature review released on the 17th of May this year indicates clearly that poverty is a leading cause negatively affecting students' academic performance and social performance in primary schools. This all sounds very doom and gloom, but all children have an ace up their sleeve. Experiences shape learning, and learning can help to shape brain development and cognitive function. There have been lots of traditional programs aimed at improving learning in a classroom setting. This is a space where teachers have great influence to intervene in outcomes, and these programs remain important. However, programs based on providing positive and diverse experiences outside the classroom are a fantastic way to reset aspirations and build positivity towards learning. It is also invaluable for those children who struggle for one reason or another with classroom-based learning. Giving children access to extracurricular experiences outside the traditional classroom is what makes lifelong learners. This includes things like being part of a team or club, visiting a museum, gallery or cultural centre, walking onto a TAFE or university campus for the first time and knowing it's a place they belong. And in South Australia, we are indeed moving in the right direction. The extension of the school sports voucher to assist families in encouraging kids into sport, the statewide initiatives of Children's University Program assisted by the outreach team at the University of Adelaide, and inter-school competitions like the Adelaide Stedford or the Oliphant Science Awards. Heading back to our own regions in South Australia, particularly those with identified educational disadvantage, it is important that there are programs and initiatives giving these children the opportunity to experience activities city kids take for granted. Creating experiences unique and freely available in our regions will help build aspirations for children with the initial educational disadvantage. The obvious out-of-classroom experience for children in the regions is sport, which has tremendous benefits including health and mental well-being, teamwork and fellowship skills. Sports are also safe settings to introduce rules and boundaries, important life skills that are sometimes not available to those in the most disadvantaged of situations. But there are far more avenues for additional experiences. These may be cultural or artistic experiences, working with community elders, special interest clubs, community organisations, local youth boards and council interaction, local newspapers and community radio stations, music, religious groups and social clubs. Our regions are full of innovative and inspiring community leaders, and I look forward to working with them to create new opportunities for children living in country South Australia.
I call the Honourable Mr Wortley.